I had a difficult conversation a few months back that went badly, like really badly, and I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, what I did wrong, and what I did right, even in the mess of it. Conversations do go sideways, even when you prepare, even when you have good intentions, and we need to talk about what happens when it does go wrong. So, I've made a couple of videos about difficult conversations, why we avoid them, how to prepare for them, and then I got a bunch of messages saying, great, but what if I do everything right and it still goes wrong? Which is a valid question because it will sometimes. And I realised I've been sharing like the perfect ideal scenario, but life isn't ideal and people don't always respond the way that we hope. And sometimes we mess up in the moment, even when we knew better. So let me tell you about this conversation I had with a family member back in June, because I did a lot of things right and it still went sideways. So I had to talk to a family member about some issues we had on a joint project, and I did all my prep. I knew my intention, I had my opening line, and I walked in feeling ready. And here's what actually happened. I said my opening line, I want to talk about what happened yesterday. And immediately they got defensive and turned it back on me. And in that moment, I could feel my body tensing up. My throat got tight. And instead of staying curious like I'd planned to, I got defensive right back. I started bringing up loads of issues over the past few months, things that I actually thought I'd let go of. And then they said quite a few things in response. And suddenly we were having a full-blown argument. It felt awful, like physically uncomfortable in my body. My brain immediately went to, see, this is why you don't bring things up. This is why you should have stayed quiet. Okay, so let me put on my coach hat for a second and analyse what actually happened. First, the conversation going badly doesn't mean it was wrong to have it. This is the thought that will kill you. It went badly, therefore I shouldn't have done it. No, it went badly, therefore it was harder than staying silent. But staying silent was slowly killing the relationship anyway. Second, I can see exactly where I lost the thread. When they got defensive, I actually had a choice. I could stay curious. I could have said, help me understand what's going on right now. Or I could protect myself by getting defensive too. And I chose protection. And the second I did that, we both lost. Third, going wrong often just means getting uncomfortable. Not all difficult conversations feel good while they're happening. And sometimes wrong just means both people are feeling things they don't want to feel. That's not failure, that's just difficult. But this one actually did go off the rails. So what do you do when that happens? Here's what I've learned about repairing a conversation that went sideways. These are the actual steps I used with this situation. Step 1, don't chase it immediately. Your instinct is going to be to fix it right away. Tell them, call them, explain yourself better. Don't. Take at least 24 hours. Let everyone's nervous system just settle, because you can't repair something when everyone's still flooded. What you can do is take care of yourself. Call a friend, feel your feelings, but don't go back until you're regulated. Step 2, own your part without over apologising. So after you've had some space, reach out and just own what you did, not what they did. Say, look, I want to acknowledge that our conversation got heated. I know I got defensive and that's not how I wanted to show up. But notice what I'm not saying. I'm not saying I'm sorry for bringing it up because I had a right to. I'm not saying I'm sorry you got upset because I can't own that. I shouldn't have said anything. Well, that just teaches you to stay silent next time. Instead, I'm owning my defensiveness. That's it. Step 3, offer a do-over, but don't demand it. Maybe say, I still think this is something worth talking about and I'd like to try again when we're both calmer. Are you open to that? And here's the hard part. They might say no. They might not be ready, and you have to let that be okay. Step 4, decide what you need going forward. People skip this. They focus entirely on repairing the relationship and forget to check in with themselves. Ask yourself, was their reaction revealing something about this relationship and how safe it is? Do I still want to pursue this conversation, or was their response the information I needed? And what boundaries do I need to set for myself moving forward? Sometimes the conversation going badly is actually data, so pay attention to it. Step 5, learn but don't overlearn. Yes, reflect on what you could have done better, but don't let one bad conversation convince you to never be honest again. The lesson isn't don't have difficult conversations. The lesson might be notice when I get defensive and have a plan for that. Or this person might not be ready for safe or vulnerable conversations. A conversation going wrong doesn't mean you did something wrong. Sometimes you do everything right and it still goes badly because the other person isn't ready. The timing was off. They're dealing with stuff you don't know about. The relationship was already more damaged than you realised. And sometimes people just respond badly to honesty. And you know what? That's okay. It's painful, but it's okay. Because here's what would have happened if I hadn't had that conversation. Nothing. The tension would still be there. The resentment would still be growing. I'd still be feeling inauthentic. And at least now I have information. I know how they respond when I'm honest. I know what I need to work on. I know whether this relationship can handle hard conversations or not. And that's not failure, that's progress. So am I glad I had that conversation? I definitely wasn't at the time, and right now we are both still recovering from it, as it's taken us both a while to process. It's going to take a while for our relationship to feel safe again, but I'll tell you what I do know. I showed up honestly. I tried. And even though it got messy, I didn't abandon myself. And I'd rather be someone who tries and fails than someone who never risks being real, even when it sucks, which it does sometimes. So if you've had a conversation that went wrong, or if you're afraid to have one because you're worried it will, I see you. This stuff is hard, but hard doesn't mean wrong. It just means hard. Drop a comment if you've had a conversation go sideways. Let us know what happened and how you handled it. Let's normalise that this is part of the process. And if you need the video on how to prepare for difficult conversations so you're going in with a framework, I'll link that too. It won't prevent all the messiness, but it does help. Take care.